guys, it's Jess and I am excited to share a Christmas in July card with you today. This is part of a Crafty collaboration between a bunch of really talented YouTube creators to all make a Christmas project and hop around just to grow some support and give you guys some inspiration. So there is a prize to be won. You can check out that information in the detailed description below. If you're interested in winning, check out that for more information. So to start off this card, I am actually going to be doing some Distress Oxide ink blending. I showed you the die that I'm going to be using. It is a Spellbinders die, and I showed some examples of cards that I have made using that particular die. It's this really pretty swirly heart die. It's absolutely gorgeous. Like I said, it's from Spellbinders, and you can find information on that. Everything is linked down in the description below. I'm just starting off with some Distress Oxides in Bundled Sage, Pine Needles, and Black Soot, and just blending some color on here. I decided to try something completely bizarre for this particular die, and stick with me. I know that this does not look very pretty right now, but I think I pulled it together. Let me know in the comments if you think I did. So I did my ink blending. I used the sprayer from Ranger to, I put the water in my hand first and then I flick it onto the page because I feel like it gives me a little bit more control over the way the splatter looks. Went ahead and used a clean paper towel to dry that up. Now I'm going back in with just some really cheap white paint. I got this literally from the Dollar Tree, and I'm using the splatter brush from Holtz mixed with a little bit of water and just splattering that onto my background. Once that was dry, I did go ahead and die cut my card panel. And now I did have to run this through a couple of times because my die cut machine is kind of loosening up on the pressure, and I did have to add a shim. But if you have a newer die cut machine, you probably won't have that problem. Then I went ahead and started on my background panel. So I am using some Stormy Sky to start off with. I did speed this up quite a bit because I feel like I ink blend really slowly, and I don't feel like you're going to learn much just from watching me do it at real time. So you can see the technique that I used, and if you guys have any questions or anything, you can always leave them down in the description and hopefully I can answer that for you. So now I'm going in with my second darkest color. Again, I've got everything linked down below in case you want to see what I've used. And now I'm going to go in with the chipped Sapphire. I'm just building up darker color as we get towards the top of the card. I don't know why, but this particular type of combination of white to a really dark deep blue is so super pretty to me. I really like it. And so to get that really deep dark color, I am adding some black soot in at the top. The cool thing about these Distress Oxides is they blend so smoothly that you can add a color like black soot, good grief, onto the top, and it doesn't just look like stark black at the top. It really blends in nicely and deepens the color for you. So I'm doing the same thing here. I spritzed on some water with the sprayer and my hand. Now I'm going in with the same acrylic paint and adding that with the splatter brush. Now that gives the effect of snow. Obviously this is a Christmas in July card, so hopefully you can tell where I'm going with this. Now I'm using a sentiment from Simon Says stamp. This is one of their little tiny words stamp sets, and I absolutely love these because they are perfect for adding a sentiment when you don't want to take away from your background or whatever's going on in your card. This is excellent for that. So I'm using my mini Misty, using the powder tool from Ranger, just to go ahead and put the powder down so that if I have any stray embossing powder, it won't stick to it once I dump that on. Getting my sentiment all lined up, and then I did use the Letter It embossing ink pad, also from Ranger, and then Ranger white embossing powder to heat set my sentiment. So this sentiment says, and I'm giving away my card here if you haven't figured it out, this sentiment says, "You light up my Christmas tree." I'm really excited about being able to use this because I didn't really know any sort of situation where I might use this particular sentiment, but here we are. So I'm using a tiny little tasting spoon. These are usually made for ice cream, to pour on my embossing powder and just tap off that excess from the back side. And then I went ahead and used my Wagner heat tool to heat set and melt that embossing powder. This makes kind of like a raised, shiny appearance to my sentiment. And then I went ahead and trimmed it down using my Fiskars paper trimmer. I originally had planned to just have the sentiment off to the side, but when I laid it down on my card, I actually loved it so much that I decided to keep the whole strip. Now it's not centered because I wasn't planning on keeping the whole thing, but I added some sequins over on the left-hand side once I was ready for that, and I think that that helped balance it out, so it looked okay even though it wasn't like completely straight. So now I'm going in, I started gluing the bottom down before I realized that I forgot some of that stump of my Christmas tree was kind of poking through. Whoops-a-daisies. So I went in with my scissors. Luckily I caught it before I glued down too much, and I was able to snip off the little edges there. And then now I'm just going in with some liquid glue and adhering that whole thing to the background. I think this looks so super cool. Now my idea here was that I was going to add in some like a halo sort of light effect up at the top, and I still think it was a cool idea, but if I'm being honest, I don't love it because this card was so striking with that super dark background, and then I think having that at the top, I sort of ruined it. I still like the way that it turned out, but it's just not as striking in my opinion. So in order to get that effect up at the top, I took a little sponge dauber, like a finger dauber, I think they're called, and I made sure that it was really clean first because I'd previously used it for a different color. I don't have very many of these. So I cleaned it off, made sure it was really nice and clean, and then I took my Scattered Straw Distress Oxide. I lifted up the little panel up there, the part of the panel that's like where it looks like a little heart. Well, it's an upside down heart, but it's the top of my Christmas tree. And I wanted it to be kind of like a little halo, so I sort of went in a circular motion outside of that. And then I felt like it wasn't intense enough for you light up my Christmas tree. Like there's no, I don't know, is that an insult if it's a dull light? But I felt like it needed a little bit of shimmer and shine or something. So I went in with the Nuvo drop. This is the Morning Dew. The bottle I have is called Grande size because it's super giant, but it's really useful, so I like to keep it on hand. And I thought that that added a little bit extra to the card and made it look a little fancier. So I went ahead and mounted that on a white A2 size card base, and that finished off the card, you guys. There's a look at the completed card. I hope you like it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you like what you saw and you want to stick around for more content, and I will see you guys really soon in another video. Merry Christmas in July!